Good morning. I'm calling to order the Connecticut State Advisory Council for Special Education Executive Committee meeting on Friday, March 21st at 9:31 a.m. I'm Susan Yankee. I am the chair and I am a parent member as well. Public comment. Is there anybody online for public comment? I guess we would see them correctly.
There is not. Yep, no one
No,
online.
okay, great. So we'll move on to consent agenda. Our February 19th, 2025 meeting minutes need to be approved. I looked through, I didn't see any corrections. So does anyone see any corrections?
No,
No.
Wonderful. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll,
I'll make that motion.
Nachi, great.
and
Is someone
I'll second that motion.
great? Abstain for anybody who wasn't at the meeting? No? Okay, all approve? No, Tom. There you go. Great, thank you. So the meeting minutes are passed for February 19th, 2025. Welcome, Mr. Spar. So we have esteemed guests today, the Toe Institute. But before we start with them, could everybody on the council or I guess everybody, could you kind of just quickly say who you are and who you represent on the council? And I would love to start with Miss Catherine Sum.
Hi, I'm Catherine Sum, and I represent the Bureau of Education Services for the Blind Children's Services Program, and I'm also the chair of the SAC Membership Committee.
Wonderful. Nachi?
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nachi Bhatt, and I represent the Department of Children and Family. My stakeholder group is the Children in Foster Care.
Wonderful. Sean?
Good morning. I'm Sean Cronin. I'm with the Connecticut State Department of Education, the Bureau of Special Education.
Wonderful. Tom?
Tom Kosker. I'm actually not officially a member of the executive committee, but I am on the SAC as a representative of Disability Rights Connecticut, the protection and advocacy system here in Connecticut. More importantly, I'm a parent of a 17-year-old now son with disabilities.
Wonderful. Jeff?
Yes, hi, Jeffrey Spar, parent member. I'm on the executive committee and also the chair of the legislative committee. And to announce that today is International Down Syndrome Day.
Oh, that's right. The 21st. Wonderful. And Holly and Christine, will you quickly tell us who you are and your role on the SAC?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Christine Killiland. I'm a consultant at CERC, the State Education Resource Center, and we are here to support SAC with all their varying needs.
Wonderful. Holly?
I'm Holly, a project specialist at CERC.
Wonderful. So we have today Emily and we have Donna from the Toe Institute. Would you just introduce yourselves and just a little bit of what you do? And then I know some members had some questions for you. That's why we appreciate you coming today.
Yes. First of all, thank you for inviting us to your meeting. My name is Emily Bombach. I'm the senior project manager at the Tau Youth Justice Institute. We do administer two committees in Connecticut. So one of them is the Transforming Children's Behavioral Health Policy and Planning Committee, also known as TCB and JJPOC. So I'm the senior project manager of the TCB. And I will let Donna introduce herself.
Hi, Donna Fromer. I'm the Senior Director for Strategic Initiatives at the Tau Youth Justice Institute. I've been here for 8 years and been very excited now. Time flies. And very excited about all the work that's happened in the state. And grateful for you to have us on and learn about a little bit more about the TCB.
Thank you so much. Because I know what we were trying to do is figure out that Venn diagram that you had sent us of where we overlap. And Nachi, I believe you were asking some questions about the mission at the Toe Institute.
Oh no, I had some understanding. I know my commissioner is involved in both your policy meetings, statutorily appointed, and I'm heartened to see that the newer one about children's social well-being and the emotional aspects are, the mental health piece is really big. So I just wasn't quite sure your fit with us. That's all.
Yeah, so I can go ahead and jump in. So I had met along with the other TCB project coordinators at the Tau. I'd met with Susan and Jen, I believe, in February to go over this Venn diagram of our alignment because The TCB is kind of a newer committee. We launched our first work groups in 2024, and this was the first year that we had a set of legislative recommendations. So, as we're building out the strategic plan, which will actually be sent to Susan and Jen sometime next week, as we're hoping to present the draft version to the committee on the 26th, which is our next meeting. We identified a lot of need to align with other committees and find collaborations in areas so we can ensure non-duplicative work in Connecticut. So my team had been developing these Venn diagrams, looking through meeting minutes, reports to see kind of an overview of broad priorities of the TCB, and in this case, the State Advisory Council for Special Education, and then find those middle areas where we do align. I know I talked to Susan and Jen about our work groups and would love for if anyone here is interested in joining any of the work groups, that would be great to find again that alignment and intersect our work and for us to come here whenever, invited or meets the time. But yeah, just finding those areas of alignment and to ensure non-duplicative work in Connecticut was the goal, and to find areas where we can work together in our future.
Wonderful. Can you tell us what work groups you feel align with the SAC and our mission of unmet needs for students with special education?
Yeah, so right now we had two work groups since 2024 that were the main work groups for the TCB, services and system infrastructure.
Okay.
Services then branched out. So we're actually launching two new work groups in April, which is school-based and prevention. And I do see people from CERC on the call. We had actually just met with a few members of CERC on Tuesday to discuss our school-based and prevention work groups. So the school-based will be looking at school behavioral health services and school behavioral health centers, and kind of the building studies based off our legislative recommendations within that. And then prevention is kind of, such a large topic. As we're developing work plans, they really will be finalized when we go to these first work group meetings. So if you are interested, going to that first work group meeting can really help shape the work plans for the year. And I think we do need diverse representation in all work groups. So I can send additional information following this meeting about the work groups, and also the work plans will be attached to the draft strategic plan that we're releasing next week. So Susan and Jen, if you're on the call, please feel free to, share with the rest of the group as we want to hear feedback.
Yeah, when you send that, Jennifer's going to be a little late today. When you send that to me and Jennifer, we'll disseminate it to the executive committee. And Tom, would you like to be included in that?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions?
No, this has just been very informative. Thank you.
Yeah, when we get all that information, I think that will help us a lot. We so appreciate you taking your time out this morning to kind of clarify the answers that I couldn't clarify for the executive committee. So anything else you have asked? Oh, I would also like to see your legislative, if that's possible. Will you send that too?
Yes, I will send our recommendations in brief, which is our original legislative packet. And there are two bills that are going through the legislative process. They've had public hearings. I will send those to you. It is House Bill 6951 and House Bill 7109. So some of our legislative recommendations are in those package. Others we're kind of awaiting, but I will send those over.
Okay, wonderful. Tom, you had a question? I saw your hand.
Yeah, and apologies, I'm just learning about you guys all like literally yesterday when I got this email about this meeting. So I'm happy to learn about this, and there's definitely overlap with the SAC, and there's also overlap with what I do professionally at Disability Rights Connecticut as well. So yeah, I'd be happy to connect with you guys also in that role. But that was so 7109 was the other one, because I have been following stuff at the legislature.
Yes.
What was the other one?
Oh, sorry, 6951. House Bill
6951. Okay. And because one of the areas that the SAC has been involved with is, again, ensuring students receive the behavioral health supports they need, yada, yada, yada. And not to yada, yada it, but back to Seinfeld days. But anyway, see, so yeah, I was curious as to where, yeah, what that looked like as far as, yeah, recommendations. But I guess I can read that. I guess I can read that because I have the legislative stuff right in front of me from your website pulled up. So yeah. I guess I could just read that out.
And I will share not only the recommendation report, but the justification brief, which has the recommendations. all in the same recommendation and brief, but then with the justification. So, a lot of data backing it up, why we think this is going to be impactful. But we do have an array of recommendations on Medicaid rate reimbursements, workforce stabilization, continuum of crisis review.
Emily, this is Jeffrey Spar. So I'm the chair of the legislative committee. So if you just make sure that I get it,
I'll send it to you,
oh,
Jeff.
okay, good. I want to see all that stuff. And it's kind of like there's another agency, organization in Connecticut, the CT, or it was like the C, they just issued something today, I think, just kind of talking about their legislative initiatives. So we like to see what we can do to have them, fit hand in glove with each other. Some we may not always be aligned with, but many we will be. So we want to do that.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, I will make sure the executive committee and Tom that you get, I just wrote myself an action item to do all that when I receive it. Wonderful. Anyone else have any questions? Do you have any questions of us? Or Tom, I see Tom again.
Actually, no,
Tom.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, my mind's racing now, and I'll stop with this. But you guys connected with the Children's Behavioral Health Advisory Council as one CBAC? Okay. I would assume you would be. Okay. Okay. I would assume you would be because I sit on that as well as a DRCT. That Disabilities Connecticut. I sit on that, and there's not obvious overlap, like tremendous overlap. That's a giant overlap on this Venn diagram, so to speak. So.
Yeah, and in the strategic plan, the draft strategic plan, we'll be voting on it in April. This month is really to provide to people we met with, like Susan and Jen and your committee, and then for all the other committees we met with. I think we met with like 14, to provide feedback, if we missed something on the diagrams, they're all going to be listed. All of the chairs of the committees will be listed, and all the committees we met with will be listed. So you'll be able to see back in that as well.
Thanks.
Great. And then we can in turn also share that with our full SAC after we kind of go over it. Because there are a lot of people representing a lot of different groups. So, all right.
Yes. I have a question. So I'm just going on looking at the bill because the 7109 is an act concerning Medicaid coverage for applied behavioral analysis services, et cetera. One of the things that we're thinking, well, for consideration is how the removal of some of these departments on the federal level might impact us on the state level. And I was suggesting for the executive committee, we may want to target some of those issues and then just kind of send a note to our congressional representatives to try to give them another talking point when they make an objection. So if you have anything on that, please send it along as well. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. We actually are in the process as of this week, looking to create an ad hoc committee for the TCB, specifically to monitor policy at the federal level to see how it impacts us. So once that does move along, I can provide updates to Susan and Jen.
Yeah, because my thought would be is like right now obviously Hines and whatever they're saying, oh, we objected this and objected that, and it's going to impact. But if we had targeted things, like I don't know the answers to these questions. I don't know what money we get, and so I'm not the one to give you the answers. But I'm certainly aware that if there's going to be a negative impact, we'd like to give them a particular pointed talking point that they can say, and by the way, this will so it brings it home, I think.
Yeah.
Jeff is our brilliant legislative mind. So
no, not brilliant. I'm a legislative wannabe. Tom is the one who's there all the time. Plus, he's got Kramer over his left shoulder. How talking about Tom? I wanted to say when you were talking about Seinfeld, there's a lady in Norwalk that has a license plate, and it's Yada.3. I just thought that was.
I like it.
Tom just said that. All right. Okay. Anything else? No. Great, because we have a full agenda today. Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you, Donna. And reach out anytime, okay?
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Okay, great. Hello again, everybody. Okay, next in our process, Susan, you could see the Messerschmitts I have here. Okay. We have executive matters. We have to plan our agenda for the next meeting. So my quick question to Ms. Holly and Ms. Christine is there the document from the last meeting that you were listing all the priorities and recommendations for unmet needs that, the unmet need document?
Are you talking about at our full council meeting when we
when we went over?
Hmm.
Yeah, the unmet needs. Do you guys have that?
Hmm. If you give me a
Yeah.
couple minutes, I could grab that if you need it. Do you need it now?
Well, no, I don't need it now, but
Okay.
we need something to work off of for something like a clear. Brian usually, and Sean, I know you're here, but we also miss Mr. Brian very, very dearly. Oh, Tom said, "Comme ci, comme ça." Okay. So, he would take the list of, he would kind of make three columns. He would say, our last year, uh, what we did for priorities and recommendations based on the category as it is in the annual report, what we've been discussing as continuing unmet needs, and then the third one as a SAC, we work together. Am I correct on that? On how we're going to either move things over, create new unmet needs that we're going to discuss. Is that correct? So it would be great for, I don't know if you can get that done for the next meeting. It's is that possible for us to work off of? Because then we can put priority and recommendation work on the
So you want that for the 26th?
yeah. And if
Um,
yeah, and if you can't, then send me what you have right now for what we have for what we've been discussing on unmet needs, and I can try to figure out how to put that together in some sort of semblance that we can share with the SAC and work off of. I don't know, Sean, what do you think?
I'm confused what you want to do, Susan. I know what we've done in the past.
That's what I want. Yeah.
So no, I'm just trying to figure out. So in the past, we've had priorities and recommendations, and then we've talked about what we wanted to carry over. What was the third column?
The third column, anything new.
Okay, so we would be adding anything new besides what we wanted to carry over.
Right.
Okay.
So I guess that doesn't even have to be a column. It could just be a section in the like LRE, a section in LRE. Hello, Jennifer.
Susan, to answer your question, yes, I could work on that. And Sean, if it's okay with you to kind of like pick your brain about how it went last year.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to work with you on that.
All right.
Yeah, because it seems like the meetings go so much smoother when it's already kind of pre-thought out and organized.
So remember, this is a short meeting, so I'm not sure how
Yep.
much priority time this is going to be.
Right.
So I just want to figure out.
Even if we just go over it and say, this is what we're working on, we don't have to dig into it, even if it's did we miss anything?
Okay.
Because we only have one more full, like long working in-person meeting. So it would be great and if we can't get to it, we can't get to it. We could at least share the document for people to think about in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be beyond amazing. Okay, wonderful. Other things, I'm going to give an update on the agenda on unified sports, which Tom and I are going to do in 1 minute, anyways. On what we just on just a quickie on Toe Institute and unified sports. Um, I'm going to also speak in my, you can just do executive matters if you want for the agenda, because I'm also going to talk about the fact that the ad hoc bylaw procedures committee, I only have Sean and Jennifer, and you have to have three plus me. So I'm going to actually right now, after we get off the phone, I'm going to type up a couple of sentences asking people to again think about it. If you could send that when you send the meeting reminder.
Susan, I can join the ad hoc bylaws committee meeting.
Right. I would love to, though, somebody from, because we've got to start rolling people onto
Yeah.
leadership positions. So I'm hoping, I love that you're doing that. And it means a lot because membership is one of the most confusing for me of how it rolls.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's amazing. So if we could get also someone from the full SAC, the
Yeah.
non-executive, that would be amazing. But I appreciate that. Okay, so that means we're on a go with there. Um,
Just a clarification question,
uh-huh.
Susan. You wanted, you're still going to send out, or you still want me to send out a couple lines to full SAC to join the ad hoc?
Yeah, to
Yeah.
just as a reminder that we need
Okay.
people.
Okay. I'm just writing it
If you
down
could
as
do
we
that,
go.
that's great. I'll cross it off my to-do list.
Yeah, if you type it up, you shoot it to
Okay,
me,
well,
I will full SAC.
Yeah, I encrust it too soon. Okay, so all right. So next I have, and I invited Tom, and I'm sure he has to go um, on the agenda. Is there anything? What does the state need before we get to Tom? What does the state need? Do you need to report on anything?
I'm gonna say the state needs a big pile of money. That's what the state needs.
Yeah,
I'm just
State
well,
needs
kidding.
a big pile of money. Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure Brian will want to report something. I will check in with him. I'm sure he will have something to report that day.
Right. And what I sent an email earlier, Sean. I don't know if anyone got to see that about the fact that we are in state statutes, the SAC,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And what was good about that, as I was reading that statute, it actually was defining what's quorum and things like that for us. So I'm going to kind of try to go through that and say, because every time we're like, do we have quorum? Do we have quorum for the full SAC I'm talking about? Um, so I'm going to go through that, but if we should maybe the legislative, and I was talking to Jeff about this, we should be going over that and make sure that that covers everything we need if the federal government, there's no more OSEP. And I'm sure you're thinking that way too, as well, Sean, every day at your office.
I don't
Absolutely.
think, yeah, I mean, I don't think this SAC in any way, I mean, not that I can think of. I mean, having been the chair and having gone through that legislative, our
Hmm.
bylaws and all that stuff, we went through the bylaws pretty fine-tooth comb, Jen, back in the day. And I don't think there's much impact at all from the feds. I mean,
No, they would have
I,
to
I,
eliminate IDEA
Okay.
to get rid of the
yeah,
SAC, but
Okay,
we're
that's great.
also additionally in the state statute, so we should be covered
yeah,
either
I think
way.
we're okay.
But even if they get
I
rid
mean,
of OSEP, they can't just get rid of IDEA
right.
without.
Well, and OSEP is just the oversight, OCR. I mean, all those things that they're doing that are gutting and it's terrible and horrible, and we don't need to go into it. But they don't impact us, right? So as far as us in our little spot here, they don't impact
Okay.
us. And obviously there's the funding flow through piece, but that's even outside of our.
What
The
about
only
the,
piece there for our scope is like we look at, right? We get Boudreaux or whoever, to give us
yeah,
the
that's what I'm talking about.
here's the grant, this grant, here's this grant, here's the money, and they give us the update. But that doesn't change. If that part changes or moves, it still doesn't change our role, which is just to hear from them on what happens. You know what I mean?
And not the reporting that
Well, reporting we do is to the state, right? It's the state legislature, it's the CSDE
no,
and
no,
all that
no,
stuff.
the reporting that CSDE does to us.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, well, that'll wash out with whatever happens at the federal level, all the
Okay,
nightmares that happen there. Whatever washes out there, again, not minimizing that. It's a big giant nightmare. But
right.
whatever does happen there, I don't think our role as the advisory to CSDE
Okay.
changes in any single way at all. So I
No?
don't think it's
Okay, Sean,
anything
then
we need to
that's
be concerned
great.
about personally. So, okay. I just want
Great,
to make
because
sure I'm reading that
that would
right.
have been a ridiculously heavy lift for us.
It's a huge lift
Yeah,
for a million organizations out there. We're
yeah.
not one of them right now that are
Sean,
affected by this.
I'm thinking that the full SAC are going to have questions. And just like what we're discussing right now, is there any way that Brian could just, because he's so good at helping fears and kind of saying everything's going to be fine, is there anything that maybe he could do that?
I'm sure he will be happy to do that.
Okay.
I think
That
he's
would-
doing that in many venues right now.
Good, good, good. I think there's going to be questions for sure at our full SAC meeting.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
sure he'll be happy to answer
Look at Nachi.
questions.
Nachi, I could tell you want to say something. What do you want to say,
Um,
Nachi?
I just want to say there's so much to say. Anyway, I didn't say good morning to Jen. Good morning, Jen. Everybody,
Morning.
there's a lot as we go through this time. I was just, some colleagues of mine and I, my age, we were recalling um, the beginning of the Department of Education when I was in college, and the joy when it had a first website, the Institute of Educational Science, all the articles and research that I've actually captured, and they're like little treasures. So, these things are there, and as things change, as long as IDEA stands, which it will, we have a voice and we have a job to do. So that's all. but thank you for asking.
Thank you. I could tell. Okay. All right, great. So I don't think we need much on the agenda. I guess we'll do roundtable.
And there will be, I mean, I
Membership.
don't want to jump ahead, but there will be
Yeah.
membership that needs to be on the agenda.
And legislative. Yep. So the basics. So we'll have pretty much follow what we did last time, but we'll just shorten times. We might not even have the full priority recommendations. We might just do the roundtable because we only have an hour. And I know the new student will take up just a little section of that. And I know legislative will take this much of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I was wondering with priorities and recommendations, especially with fears related to what's going on. I mean, with an hour and a
Right.
half, I always feel like there's really not a lot of time to get things covered in our shortened meetings.
Okay.
And so that's always my fear is that we always have a robust agenda and we don't have a lot of time to get through a lot.
Then can we just try to get together the priorities, that document I was talking about for our next executive committee so we can look at it as an executive committee
Oh,
then?
yeah,
Do you think that's a better
absolutely.
idea, Sean?
Yeah, I absolutely do.
Okay. All right. Then that's what we'll do it for. Catherine, you just disappeared for a second.
I know I'm in my office and it was telling me I sat still for too long, so the lights went out.
Are you
Okay.
still awake? You get that little message. Are you still awake? Are you still...
Yeah, I know.
Susan,
All right.
I
Is there
just want,
anything else on the agenda? Oh,
well,
yes, Jeff.
I had gotten notice from the federal court that I have a conference next week, the 26th, which is the day of our thing at 9 a.m. But it's not going to be a long conference. It's just basically to pick a date for a settlement conference. I just want to give you advance notice that I, I will be running late. I'm not sure when, but for now, I have a competing thing at 9 a.m. So I'm hoping that.
So you have a co-chair now, right? I'm kind of staring at him. Do you want to work with Mr. Kosker in case you're going to be late about what should be presented?
Sure. I mean, at this point, I don't know if there's any new initiatives. I think we could just do what we've kind of like written so far. It's
Yeah,
just what I was going to do is just say these are the bills that we've commented on.
yeah. We'll talk about it because we meet today at
Yeah,
2 or 2:30 or
1:30
something.
or something.
Yeah,
No,
whatever time. So
1:30.
whatever time. So later on today we can talk about that. But yeah, we can do an update. So whatever update needs to happen, we can do
Yeah.
an update.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just have it just in case something happens, Jeff.
Yeah,
You
no,
can't.
I agree.
Yeah,
So that's good. I just wanted to mention that. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
I greatly appreciate that. Okay, do you want to move on to oh, we need nominating on the agenda. Am I correct? So membership.
Nominating committee. Yeah, we got to talk to Brian about that. Yeah, is this the meeting where we typically have the nominating committee on the agenda, or is it the next one?
Do they have to meet first before they're on the agenda? Jennifer, do you
think
know?
I
Okay,
think
so
Well,
they do
no, you
too.
can still have them on the agenda as far as to make the pitch again for
Okay.
officers.
Then, all right. I would say then put nominating committee on there and Brian can give a pitch.
he's very good at that.
Yeah.
And for all of these, so for membership, nominating, and legislative, do you just want me to put on the agenda as the item, just updates? Would that work? Make it very not specific, more broad, or do you want something specific for the action item?
Again, I know I'm not part executive. To me, it's always better to just keep it simple. On the
Yeah.
agenda. That's
I
the
agree.
agenda. Because then what you talk about, you talk about. Who knows? It might
All right.
change. So just
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll just do
update.
update.
Done.
Yeah.
Then it's easy.
love it.
Make the
Sounds
agenda. You could almost use. I mean, a lot of the times in the past, we've almost used the same darn agenda every time. Like it's just tweaking the little things here and there, but there's
Yeah.
no sense in getting into detail. The details will come in the minutes. In the
I
minutes.
love it. Absolutely. If it
Right.
ever changes, just let us know and you need something more specific put on there, just give us the heads up, but we'll keep it very general.
Yeah, and if you throw it together and send it to me, I mean, we could probably have it, send it to the executive committee. We could probably, or just me, because since we've already put it together, we could probably have it all ready, by later this afternoon or Monday
That's good.
in time to get it up.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom and I just have a quick update on, we met with Unified, Tom has all these connections with Unified Sports, right? Tom, you want to see, we went, and Special Olympics, we met with them.
Yeah, Special Olympics Connecticut. Mike Mason is the director of Special Olympics Connecticut, and Unified Sports is one of their programs that they run. So, I just have gotten to know him over the last few years through the work in Unified here in Rocky Hill and just with my son on the teams. But so we met really and talked about the um, kind of how we can collaborate in how we might be of help to them as they kind of continue to spread the word and do their piece. You know, they have a couple things legislatively, but it's nothing real. I mean, it's nothing real big. It's just like we need a little bit of funding here to kind of help, do our work. Um, but really, I think the main points that he made, and fill in the blank, Susan,
Yeah, I'm looking at
is
I'm looking at
well,
what they wrote. Yeah.
it's just anything to spread the word, right? Any which way we can help them, because they are in a lot of different, and I don't have the numbers. They're in a lot of different schools, a lot of different school districts. They're in a lot of different communities as well, right? So there's school-based programs, and then there's community-based programs. Um, but to whatever extent we can, or the State Department of Ed can, spread the word on unified programming, and I'll say programming in general because sports is the main piece of it, but the unified programming to, again, I say superintendents, they're sort of important, yes, but also, directors of special ed, et cetera. So those important folks, decision makers at these districts around the state. So that was sort of like anything we can do to highlight um, uh, them. And we had included, I mean, the reason Susan had connected with this whole thing is it was in our recommendations or whatever, right? And they're saying like as part of our inclusive leadership environment inclusive aspect is, hey, unified is one component of that. So to the extent we can help broaden that reach of unified programming in districts, so that's kind of where I think the main gist of our conversation was. And they shared more details. They have a new staff member who's kind of helping with that in the different programs. And they talk details about what they have from early youth ones, grades 1 through 3, all the way up through the high school programs. And I'll shut up.
Okay, you're so sweet, Tom.
Yeah.
So what they really, their unmet need, what I asked for them is they really was wondering how can unified programming sports be integrated into the transition planning process for students with disabilities? Because it's hard because what they said, and it's what Tom also said about knowing. They said that what parents don't know is not only do they exist, but the schools aren't always telling parents that this is a resource because it can take them until they're 80 years old. They also have healthy athletes, which I didn't know about, hearing tests. They give hearing aids, vision tests. So they're trying
Really?
to, yes,
Okay,
that's
so
what
like
I'm saying.
I don't, and that's so because I don't mean to interrupt you, Susan, but
No,
that got me
please,
very
please.
excited because what I wanted to say, and now I am going to say is reach out to other organizations, like for example, my stakeholder group. I work for
Mhm.
a state agency. So when I have information, we disseminate that information. We can disseminate it to families who are affiliated with us. I disseminate it to my staff as well as the itinerant teachers employed by the larger towns and cities in Connecticut. And if there are resources for adults, that's something I can share with the other program staff at my agency. So, and that's just within Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind. You have other state agencies that I think would get very excited to hear that this resource is available and that could garner some interest.
Yeah, they're going to connect me with whoever does healthy athletes. And then when I get that information, I'll send it to Jennifer and she'll send it out to the SAC.
Fabulous.
We do
Good.
others.
Can I also,
Sean?
I
Mhm.
was going to ask, are they also involved with transition services in any ways? I mean, just
So
because it
not,
sounds like they would be perfect for that.
yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
they're not directly outside of students who are in transition age, right? So any student can be involved in a unified activity and unified sports activity through Special Olympics. And then his point on the transition was they also have these community-based programs, which again, we talk about the cliff, we talk about what happens when you exit at 18 or 22, and then like, but there's all these programs they're very similar to what you might have experienced as a youth in school, but are community-based. but they're not. I mean, the extent they're involved with transition is just that they have programs that are offered in like we have transition students who participate in unified sports activities in Rock Hill, right? So they can participate if they're in that school district. But um, I don't know if that answers your question, Sean. But
It does in a way, Tom. I guess my whole thing is like if you have someone who's so knowledgeable about all of these resources, I mean, even though they're statewide, I mean, if you direct a, let's say, a family to the resource in their community, I mean, that would be so advantageous.
hugely,
And
and that's
so
his point,
that's
right?
why, yeah, I mean, that's why
Yeah,
if you have the one point person who could say in your community, you have this resource available to you,
yeah,
that would be great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that maybe Susan, maybe the point
Yeah.
too is to get from Mike Mason from Special Olympics or from his
Hmm.
staff, here's some simple thing we could share, right? Here's the one pager that says we have these programs, here's healthy athletes, here's the contact. Here's, community-based programs, here's the contact, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. A nice one pager. We didn't get that from him because we were talking about so much stuff, but maybe that's a simple thing because Catherine, you can take it and distribute it. Nachi
Yep.
does. Brian from DDS, and
Mhm.
again, DDS is very well connected with Special Olympics. A lot of individuals with DDS that are DDS clients interact with and engage with Special
Yeah.
Olympics. Not so much on some of the other groups, right? So I think maybe that's the idea, Sean. And to your point, like, hey, if you're interested in community-based programs and you're a transition coordinator, hey, call Joe at Special Olympics and Unified, and they're connected with CIAC and everything, and they can connect you with the person in Wethersfield or
Right.
Stanford.
I
Right.
think what ends up happening is how often do we hear that parents are already overwhelmed and then they're giving another contact and then they have to
Right,
call that contact and the person
right.
doesn't follow. It just is so missed. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
missed opportunity so often.
yeah,
They said
yeah,
that their problem is the challenge they have is faced by the big city schools in implementing new initiatives like a unified programming or a unified sports that the teachers don't really they're overwhelmed. They don't have the
Yeah.
bandwidth to do
Yeah.
that. And so I was just trying to figure out where we fit in with unmet needs and with the fact that we would like to increase some sort of unified programming as a way to more inclusivity and
yeah. They
address all
lack the
our
champions.
needs.
I mean, until you get that champion at the school level, that's
Right.
what you need. And if you don't have that champion at school level, whether it's a teacher, staff, or somebody, it's really hard. The
Right.
superintendent could bark all day, special director, blah, 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 State Department, all of us. You need those people. So that's, again, the hard part. Nachi,
Right.
looks like
And
you.
what I found out too was there is no central, like organized anything for unified arts. There's a unified theater person that's part of the CIAC. She's separate from unified sports. Oh, I'm Jen's
Yes, they have.
stuff and there is no unified arts. Just kind of schools do their own thing. And so, me personally, I'm going to try to address that through the nonprofit arts council that I work with, Access Arts. But that's on like, but anyways, Jennifer, you are just typing. What do we got in here in the chat?
Sorry,
I'm pretty sure
Oh,
I'm,
please.
I'm
it's a
pretty sure
little
Mike
loud here
said,
in the
yeah,
background.
I think Mike said he presented to them. He's presented to a group. And again, we could forward him, here's, the other direction, right? Give us your stuff to spread. Hey, here's some groups that you can connect with. And he'd be happy to hear that, right? He'd be happy to go out and connect with and present to whoever. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Brian, oh my.
including CPAC, right?
Okay.
Jen. So we can put together that list, Susan, to send
Yeah,
to him.
yeah. And we did, as Brian's signing on, we told him how amazing that Brian is and how Brian really believes in unified programming. So they were excited to hear how.
To be clear, it was Susan that said you were awesome. I definitely did not say you're
Yeah,
awesome,
Tom
Brian,
said
just to be
nothing
clear.
nice. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. He's not here. Okay.
I expect nothing less. I expect
No,
one.
but yeah. So now all we have are housekeeping. You came at the perfect time. It's nice to see you not on television.
Me too. It's nice to see you all.
Just quick housekeeping. Our website for this is for Holly and you guys. I can handle this stuff later. The April 23rd still says to be determined. There's no minutes whatsoever. I went far as back as October, and there's no like written minutes, the approved minutes on the website.
Yeah,
posted?
Matt and I spoke about that yesterday. That was just one of those things that I didn't realize they had to be posted, so I take ownership on that.
Okay.
And I'm working with him already. We spoke. I'm emailing him and everything like that to update those minutes. That was just me not realizing they had to be posted after they were approved. So my
No,
apologies, team.
no, that's great. That's so great that we're going to get that going. Can you guys tell me the new Zoom format that we received from? We're no longer going to be put on the YouTube channel for the state anymore. So can you tell me how that works with Zoom and with captioning for people?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, whoever's
Okay.
doing it.
So again, Christine and I were working with Matt, I want to say a couple of weeks ago or a week or two ago about it, just to kind of iron out how everything works. I can't speak to why it's not live streamed on YouTube anymore, but I can speak to the my role in this is to record everything, and upload everything to our shared folder. And Matt will pull everything. He could pull the recording, audio, closed captioning, transcript, like all of that is saved, and
Wonderful.
housed on my Zoom account, and then he can take it and upload it as he usually does.
Great. And then the public will now be on our, like, they will be a square if they're here. Okay. And so we're just going to have to make sure we have control over
Yeah.
Yep.
that.
So on our agenda, instead of that link that says live YouTube link, we'll just post the Zoom link if anybody from the public wants to join, and the meeting ID and passcode will be there. There is no waiting room set up or anything, so once anybody joins, Christine and I will be able to see people join. If you want me to enable a waiting room, I totally can. It's really just up to how you want to move forward with it, but they will have access to the link if they do want to join the actual meeting.
Right. So usually when we do, it used to be in the past, now we're pretty much a little bit more open, I think, but it used to be there was a time in the meeting that public were not on, right? We're not on our meeting, or they were not, what was it? We stopped recording when we go over things like when we have discussions about priorities and recommendations and breakout groups. Am I correct on that? And then we come back and then they turn the recording back on.
We could do that.
Okay.
You just have to let me know when it needs to be recorded, when it stops, when we re-record. If I need to kick anybody out so we could talk privately, like Christine and I have that
Executive.
power.
Okay. Are there any, is there, actually, here's the next one is the May meeting, our TBA that we haven't set up if we need it or not. I'm actually not going to be available. So either Miss Jen can run that meeting if we have it. We might not need it. We might just need an executive committee meeting to arrange July. We might not need that last meeting.
That's fine.
And the May, what is it? May 20, I'm making it up.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a retreat discussion, if I'm correct.
Yeah, but that usually executive, we do all the arranging and all the discussion, and we kind of just tell the committee. Also, do you have anything, Holly or Christine? And we can always chat offline if it's like busy work, because I just want to get through we have to get through membership and legislative, and we only have 15 minutes.
For housekeeping, I'm all set.
Nope.
So
Yes.
if anything comes up, I will email you separately.
Awesome. Okay, then we are going to move to the membership committee
Okay.
report.
Great.
Ms. Catherine Sum.
Lots of good news from membership. So first, I would like to report that we have a new legislative representative, Representative Dan, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is it Gajewski? And he was appointed on March 4th, and very excited. Hopefully he'll be able to attend at least part of the meeting next week. We all know how busy our legislative representatives are, but I'm just excited that we now have two legislative members on the SAC. So that's thrilling. We do have any questions about our representative before I move on to the student? No. Okay, great.
Can you
So
say his name again? I'm sorry.
Representative Dan,
Gajewski.
is it
Spell it.
Gajewski? Gaiewski.
Gotcha. That's close enough. There can't be anybody else with that.
Yeah,
Right.
great. Okay, so we do have a membership survey, and I would like to make a motion to go into executive session just because we do have some personal information that I would like to keep private.
Is that my cue to pause the recording?
Yes, please, if that's
All right.
we could do.
Wow. Look at this happening for the first time. Good job, guys.
Molly, first capture the motion. We have to, well, we don't have
I'm in
to,
motion.
but like the motion.
Should have a motion to go to executive. Yeah.
I'll make that motion to
Yeah.
go to executive session, please.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great. So, would anyone like to make a motion to move our student candidate forward for the full council to consider for SAC membership, consider for membership on the SAC?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
great. Thank you. Okay,
Wonderful.
Now we
okay.
have to take the vote.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Aye. All in favor? Aye. Or any opposed? Okay, great. Good. Fantastic. All right, good. That's it for me for membership, unless anyone has questions about anything.
I have for me,
Yes.
I've made the decision that we need to find a new chair, so we have to add that to nominating. I think I should open it up to somebody else to take over.
We should put chair and vice chair because I only do vice chair if nobody else will do it. And people have to step up.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Just want you to know, as I tell my staff who get ready to retire, I have some fuzzy shackles in a desk drawer. They're really cozy.
I stay on for a year on the executive afterwards, so I will help whoever comes in.
All right. I'll make
Okay,
sure
great.
Brian knows. Okay.
Next legislative committee report, Mr. Jeffrey Spar.
Yeah, so we have a meeting this afternoon at 1:30, and so basically on a number of bills, we have submitted written testimony. I've also reached out sometimes past the written testimony just to reach out to the um, chairperson's office or staff to say, hey, just want to make sure this was seen, so we've been getting that. So basically, we submitted testimony as to the requirement that the notice be the same day and also in the native language or the preferred language of the hearing guardian. We've also submitted testimony on the 10-222 M and N to make a requirement that there be a representative of special ed department on the Safety and Security Committee for the local districts. We've also submitted testimony on there was a bill that had to do with the training of school resource officers, and that was kind of like a not extreme, but it was more in like the safety and security aspect in the sense of some kind of like a emergency threat. And so the areas that they had to had were like the stopping of blood loss, for example, or disarming of a weapon. So what we did was we wanted to make sure there'd be some training in interacting with persons with mental or physical disabilities or other special needs. And so that seems like it's getting a positive result as well. So those are the areas where we're looking at. Also, we had submitted testimony on as far as the ability to be found eligible for the student loan reimbursement program. And there had been a bill that would, in order to be eligible, you had to have 50 plus hours of volunteer work. And there was a bill there to include within the definition of volunteer work if people were working for a religious organization or if they were a volunteer fireman or emergency response EMT person. We had submitted some testimony saying, hey, what about if we could include within the volunteer work definition the times when somebody going through school to get certified as a school psychologist or other special ed related field is able to use the time they spent in a practicum or an internship. And we felt that would satisfy some of the dual things of number one is providing them with the student loan reimbursement, but also to entice people into entering into the field as well as to retain them. So those are the things that we've done.
Great, thank you. Brian, do you have anything? Because you're there every day, or every day you're at the LOB.
I don't have anything.
Can I just make a clean? So Brian, what I had suggested something to Susan this morning was, do you, is there any, with the different shutdowns and restrictions that are going on at the federal level, apart from just general alarm, okay, but are there any particular pointed areas where we have to have concerns about? And my reason for asking that is, I'm wondering is if, as the State Advisory Council, if we had pointed areas that we might want to send a note to the congressional representatives to give them some talking points rather than just saying, oh, it's going to reduce this and students. If we had some particular areas that might give them some, I don't want to say ammunition, but some talking points.
Yeah, so the states all received a notice from the Department of Education or from the federal government, the assistant secretary, that the program, even though the reduction is happening with the Department of Ed, all programs and services are continuing. In other words, that there's no disruption at this point, for states as far as funding goes. There was what's called a continuing resolution at the federal level for their budget. Their budget hasn't passed for this year, and so there was rumors of a government shutdown. Often, what they do is they develop this continuing resolution, which was passed. So they still don't have a budget, even though the budget year is about to end. But they have these continuing resolutions. In the continuing resolution, the special ed funding has not been cut. So the $15.4 billion that comes down federally is still there. And it's solid. It's approved.
Okay, so let's put it this way. If any alarm bells go off, could you please let us know, and then we can kind of like add our support to,
Yeah.
what we're promoting.
Yeah. Having said that, Jeff, though, that there's obviously concerns about the Department of Education's role, and a diminished role, and what that means for states. The
Yeah,
Office of
Diane,
Special Education Programs has not received any layoffs or cutbacks. They've had a little bit of, for lack of a better word, some reductions naturally due to retirements, but there haven't been any cuts or reductions. Their monitoring system is continuing. The states that were in cohort 3 for monitoring received contact from OSIP this week to send in their documents. Where the impact has happened is the states that have gone through monitoring as part of cohort 2 haven't received their reports back, and they shouldn't expect to receive them anytime soon because the entity that approves reports before they go out is no longer there. So it's kind of like, after OSIP does their thing, it has to go through legal and kind of similar to what happens at the State Department. And now that those reports are kind of in a void. So they advise the states to continue to do what OSIP identified as corrective actions and to continue the work, but they may not receive their reports for quite a while.
right. So with you just saying that, you've just fanned the flames of my imposter feeling syndrome that I have as far as not knowing a lot of this stuff. So if anything pointed comes up, please let me
Yeah, I'll
know.
definitely let you all know.
Okay, one
Yeah,
other thing I
and the
wanted to
OSIP's,
mention is there had as far as the legislative, there had been a lawsuit which was Texas versus Becerra. It was
Mhm.
filed in September, and that was a challenge, proceeded as a challenge to 504.
Yeah.
And so the legislature now is attempting or is going to be considering basically taking the federal 504 laws and putting them within the state statutes so that if anything happens on the federal level to the laws, that the state would be there. There was some kind of retrenchment by the plaintiffs in that case. Basically, what that was is that under the Biden administration in the 504 Act, they included gender dysphoria as an area.
Mhm.
And so in Texas, they filed a claim against that. They're saying now, they're being the plaintiffs are saying that we're not challenging 504 as a whole. We're not trying to attack that. We're just attacking that component. But anyhow, stay tuned.
Okay, so we actually only have one more minute, but Brian, what you just said to us, we were hoping that that is what you could be addressing at the full SAC meeting to just let everybody
Sure.
kind of know where we are with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Allay some
Yeah, we might
fears.
have more information by then also.
Okay.
Great. And
Yeah.
then Tom? Mhm.
Can I just say one thing quick, Susan? So the larger bill, HB 5001, which is still being built, they had a short public hearing on it, but wasn't substantive at the time. So they're going to continue to build that. That public hearing will be in early April,
Okay.
from what I understand right now, from what I'm hearing. So just that'll be like our, the big thing on the legislative side on special education this year. So.
Okay. All right. This is a big meeting. So action items are when the Toe Institute sends me by the information that they're going to do, their legislative recommendations, their strategic plan draft, and their justification brief, and the description of the work groups. I will send that to everybody here, okay? And then I'm going to type a couple of words for Holly and Christine about our ad hoc. Thank you. So anyone, any other action items I'm missing?
Just we
And
got to
then
follow up with Unified. We just got to follow up with
Unified.
Unified. Yeah, we just got to follow up with Unified, asking them for a one pager, which I
Oh,
can
thank
do
you,
that. I
Tom.
can
Yeah,
facilitate
yeah.
that
Would you do
email.
that, Tom? Thank
Yeah,
you. I
to
forgot
get
about
their
that.
one pager, and then also I want to get to them a list. So if anyone has thoughts on Concase and CPAC and what other groups might make sense for us to inform them of, Jen, I just messaged, can maybe, I'll put that list together and get it to them. So it's a two-way
And
street.
you know what,
So
Tom,
that's
I'm gonna talk about them really quickly in my executive
sure.
report, and I will put that you want, who are good contacts for them. Yeah, because they also said their resources are limited, just like everybody else. Anybody else can remember any action items? No? Okay, wonderful. Would someone please make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 10:31 a.m. Thank you, everybody.